AWS is the biggest cloud in the world, and for years it didn't have a proper data engineering certification. Now it does. The AWS Certified Data Engineer Associate. I did this one, and today I'll tell you honestly whether it deserves a place on your roadmap. Welcome back to the certification series. Today, AWS. Finally, right? So, quick context about it. AWS launched this certification in March 2024, and it replaced the old data analytics specialty as the home for data people in the AWS certification world. My own background is GCP first, but AWS is impossible to ignore. It has the biggest market share and, in most countries, the most data engineering job listings. Several of my clients run on AWS, so this certification was my way of putting proper AWS foundation under my consulting work. So I'm back to the translation in action one more time. If you are not familiar with this term, basically if you are moving from one cloud to another, it's not a learning curve, it's a translation curve. Because I'm coming from GCP background, I'm just translating services, different names, but the same job. Let's talk about what this certification is about. What does it prove? In simple words, that you can build and run data pipelines on AWS. Ingest data, transform it, store it in the right place, keep it secure, and keep the cost under control. The key phrase in AWS on description is that it validates your ability to implement pipelines and to monitor, troubleshoot, and optimize cost and performance. This is not 100% a theory exam about what services exist. It's scenario after scenario. Here is the situation, which service, which configuration, which approach is best. And when we say best in AWS, very often means the cheapest solution that meets the requirement. Let's talk about the exam detail. The details from the official exam guide. The exam has 65 questions and gives you 130 minutes. Exactly 2 minutes per question. Here is some details that most people don't know. Only 50 of those questions are scored. The other 15 are unscored test questions AWS is evaluating. And you can't tell which is which. So if a question feels bizarre, don't panic, it might not even count. But you still need to panic for some others, not all of them. So scoring is on a scale of 100 to 1000, and you need 720 to pass. It costs $150 plus tax. Check the official page for your region. It varies based on your country. You can take it at a test center or online proctored. And here is my favorite part. If English isn't your first language, you can request 30 extra minutes as an accommodation. I'm telling you, use it. And here is a nice thing about it. AWS certification are valid, I think, for 3 years. You can check that one as well. Most of the other certifications in this playlist expires after 2 years. So this is a good one. If we have 3 years, that's great. And also the exam is offered in several languages beyond English. So what you need to study, the exam has 4 domains. Let me translate them. Domain number 1, the biggest and 34% data ingestion and transformation. This is the heart of the exam, and it's dominated by a handful of services. AWS Glue, the ATL service and its data catalog. Then we have Kinesis and streaming ingestion, Lambda for event-driven processing, EMR for Spark workloads and orchestration with step functions, and managed Airflow. If you master Glue deeply and understand when to use each of the others, you have won a third of the exam. That's domain number 1. Let's talk about domain number 2. Domain number 2, 26% data store management. Choosing and managing the right storage. We have S3 as the foundation of everything, Redshift as the warehouse, DynamoDB for key value, plus data lakes with lake formation. Expect questions about file formats, partitioning, and lifecycle policies. Domain number 3, 22%, which is about data operations and support, running pipelines day to day, monitoring with the CloudWatch, data quality, analyzing data with Athena, and troubleshooting when things break. And domain number 4, 18%, security and governance. We have identity and access management, encryption with KMS, access control on data, privacy, and audit thinking. One honest warning, AWS has multiple services for every problem, and the exam loves asking you to pick between them. So that's why the problem first mindset matters more here than on any other exam in this playlist. Let's quickly talk about my biggest lessons and honest answers. When I prepared for this certification, coming from GCP, the biggest adjustment was the number of choices. So on Google Cloud, there is usually one obvious service per job. BigQuery for warehousing, done. However, on AWS, there are 3 or 4 options, and the right answer depends on the details of the requirement. For example, latency, volume, cost, team skills. I would consider adding extra complexity comparing to Google Cloud. So I'm not here comparing cloud and AWS, but generally speaking, each service has its unique characteristics, and you really need to pick based on which scenario that you have. The thing is this, I realized my mental translation table did most of the heavy lifting. For example, we have S3 and AWS. It's similar to Google Cloud Storage, right? For example, we have Glue jobs are more like Google Dataflow. And we have Amazon Redshift, the same as BigQuery. Kinesis is PubSub territory. Athena is external table querying. Once that mapping clicked, I wasn't learning a new world, I was learning new names and new trade-offs. So for me, the biggest value was market coverage. As a consultant, being conversation ready on the biggest cloud means I never have to turn down a discovery call because of the logo on the client's architecture diagram. I'm always ready, AWS, GCP, Snowflake, Databricks, Azure. I'm always there for them. Here's what surprised me. The surprises about this exam is how much cost optimization is popular in the question. We have serverless versus provisioned, storage classes, file formats. The correct answer is very often the cheapest correct answer. The second surprise is Glue is the main character. I expected a balanced cost of services. That was not the case. Glue, Athena, Redshift, Kinesis, and S3 carry most of the exam. So go deep on these 5 before going wide on anything else. And we have extra services that are not that important, but still present in the exam, but not as the depth of these 5 services. And the third surprise, I heard a lot that AWS exams are famous for trick questions. This one felt like it was written by actual data engineers. So the scenarios were representing real-world project, I would say. Let's talk about the difficulty of this exam. AWS suggests around 2 to 3 years of data experience with hands-on AWS. But in practice, a motivated learner with solid SQL, some Python, and few months of serious AWS practice can absolutely pass. I would not say that you have to have 3 years of experience to pass this exam. If you really study well, even if you don't have that experience, I believe you can succeed. Who should take it? Career switchers and junior engineers targeting the AWS job market, and also data engineers on other clouds who want to become multi-cloud like me, and analysts moving into engineering who want a structured path through the AWS data stack. So who should skip it for now? Complete beginners with no SQL and no cloud basics. You can start with the fundamental certification first on any cloud, and engineers in a pure GCP or AWS environment with no AWS on the horizon. You can prioritize other certification that is relevant to your platform. So let's talk about the preparation strategy. So step 1, read the official exam guide. It literally lists the in-scope services. So meaning only the services that are relevant are listed there. So you can skip the ones that are not listed there. Right. That's step 1. Step 2, create a free trial AWS account and build one end-to-end project. For example, you can land files in S3, then catalog them with a Glue, transform with a Glue job, query with Athena, load a slice into Redshift, and write alerts in CloudWatch. So that single project touches all 4 domains. That's step 2. Step 3, use AWS Skill Builder. This is very popular. There is a free training and an official practice question set. Step 4, for every service that confuses you, for example, Glue versus EMR, Kinesis versus MSK, Athena versus Redshift, write one sentence on when you would pick each. Those sentences are the exam. This is very important. Try to write notes and then before the exam, review them. Then we have step 5, which is practice exams. Try to have timed practice exams in the last 1 to 2 weeks. And don't forget to review why every wrong option was wrong. That's very helpful to enforce your correct options and correct the wrong answers that you answered. A mistake many people make is trying to learn all of AWS. You don't need all of AWS, you need the data path deeply. So when you read the first documentation, you actually don't need to go through all the services. So is the AWS Certificate Data Engineer Associate worth it? If you are building a data career and your job market runs on AWS, statistically, it probably does, right? Then yes, this belongs high to your list. It's affordable, it's fair, it's valid for 3 years, and it maps directly onto the actual daily work of a data engineer. But if you are settled in another ecosystem with no AWS inside, you can deprioritize it and double down where you are. And if you are choosing your first serious data engineering certification and you have the basics down, this one, and I would include Google Professional Data Engineering if you are focused in Google Cloud. So basically, pick the cloud your local job market speaks and go for it. So the official exam guide, the free training links, and my study resources are in the description. Next one, we are going to talk about very interesting certificate. It's probably my favorite one. You don't need to miss it. I will see you there.